Professor Prasad, you were last on the show before the 2022 general elections, and in some of your responses you had said you will only be able to let the people know on what can be done after you actually find out what is the actual situation as far as government finances are concerned. So I ask you now, what is the actual situation as far as government debt, government revenue and government expenditure is concerned?
Well, thank you, Vijay. You are absolutely right. In the last 4 months, you would have noticed that we have come out, quite consistently and talked about, some of these issues. Our debt level, our expenditure, our revenue, and wastage. And we have given, good examples of wastage. One that that we talked about, is about $400 million paid out, as subsidy or rebate to the audio, visual and film industry. Plus there are many others that we have articulated. What you will also see is that now independently the World Bank, the IMF, they have come out with their own assessment of the Fijian economy, the state of the fiscal position. And obviously, we were right, before we came into government, when we raised these issues about debt, about reckless spending, about controlling expenditure, about making sure that, projects were prioritized. So what we have found out in the last 3 to 4 months, and we've talked about it quite openly and transparently in an accountable way, is the debt situation. When the current debt level as of April 2023, the debt to GDP ratio is 81.8%. We also found out, and this is very clearly articulated by independent reports, World Bank, IMF, we had one of the worst contractions. In fact, the 4th or 5th highest contraction of any economy in the world after COVID, which suggests to us and to the independent observers that our state of the economy before the COVID pandemic was bad. The economy had contracted in 2019. In fact, we had negative growth. So we are starting from a contraction of an economy by about 17-18% to a recovery of 15%, because when you go down, you have to come up. That's what you call growth, 15%. This year, we are expecting a growth rate of about more than 6%. But what I can tell you, Vijay, in the last 4 months, the level of confidence, the indicators, is very, very positive. In fact, a lot of people were saying that our recovery, it may take until 2024 before we go back to 2019 levels for our tourism. In fact, we are now looking at all our forward bookings, looking at what's happening in the hotel industry. The numbers are holding very strong, and we may make full recovery or better than 2019 by the end of this year. So that's another very good example of a very strong sign of recovery. The other point that we see, the banks are telling us there is a strong recovery, pipeline of loans, expenditure. There is a sense of confidence, exuberance. We saw that at the National Economic Summit, the passion with the investors. So with all that indicators, we feel that the growth rate for 2003, initially projected to be more than 6%, 6.3%, we could actually go up to 7 or 8%.
For 2023.
For 2023. And that's a very good sign. So while the debt situation is extremely concerning, 81.8%.
In dollar value, how much is that?
It's about $9,676.1 million, $1 billion, which is about 81.8% of GDP. And of that, our external debt, if I can give you, in fact, this represents a 2.4% increase from the previous quarter and a 12.5% increase when compared to the same period last year. As external debt portfolio, which is debt that we don't...
Offshore debt.
Offshore debt, like apart from the debt that we have from FNPF and domestic, borrowers, is about 3.5 billion, which is about 29.9% of GDP, which is again, quite significant. So what we are saying is that this is the new government has ushered in a new sense of confidence amongst our international partners, international donors. I've attended 2 big meetings, the World Bank, IMF annual meetings in Washington, recent one in Korea, the Asian Development Bank. And I think there is the whole geopolitics, the Indo-Pacific strategy, the sense that I'm getting from our international partners is that they have a lot of confidence. And some of the things that the government has done, in the last 4 months, particularly removing the Draconian Media Act, that itself has not only just inspired confidence in the media, it's actually inspired confidence and freedom in all sectors of the economy. Business people, those who were very strong supporters of the previous government, are now telling me that somehow the burden has been lifted from them. They feel free to talk about issues. So what we have done, Vijay, quite successfully as a government, apart from the issues that people have. I mean, I'm not saying that, there are no issues, there are no missteps. We accept that no government, can start by not taking some missteps. That's perfectly understandable. But overall, the confidence level is great. There is a little bit of wait and see, in some quarters, and we understand that. And once I announce the budget, that wait and see will also be gone.
Everybody's waiting for that budget that will be in July.
And so let me just conclude by saying that while the debt situation is very high, we have put in our fiscal strategy. We believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, we would bring the debt to GDP ratio down to about 70%. And we put a plan for the next 5 to 7 or 10 years to bring it down to 50%.